y'all gotta excuse me. I figure that I come out here where there is sunlight and do this. So I'm not gonna be too long because I gotta I gotta go to work in the morning like everybody else, right? Because we're all not up to no good welfare plans or whatever, like like we hear in the news. So I want to talk about propaganda, fake news, and within the truther community. And I use that loosely because if you're so-called a truther and do not believe that there is a racial bias in this country, and you're not really a truther. You, I hear some people, a lot of people, say, talk about how the news is being used to sway people and into certain directions or to hate or do this and that and the third. Um, Countless things. Police brutality, gun, all these shootings and things like that. Oh, it's propaganda. It's to get, people riled up into a certain opinion so that they can implement something that take away something that they basically move people into the direction which they want to go for a uh, insidious, mostly agenda, right? But when it comes to, again, I'm talking in the truther community, right? Or the people that are woke, or the people that, the preppers, everybody that knows that, whatever you want to call it, that knows that something's going on, knows that, or feels like that our government has sold us upstream, sold us out. Some of you guys believe that, this has been a corporation for a long time. The United States is a business, and not, and you believe in the Constitution, and, all these politicians are dirtbags, blah, 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 right? But every time, well, a spider web, it's pretty too. Every time the subject of the things that are happening with African American people, and I'm gonna let you know that we're out here, we believe a lot of the things that, you do. But the thing that a lot of us truthers are in this particular community of people who know something's up. The thing that we differ in is you don't think that there is anything wrong. You don't see the racial bias. You see a lot of the police killings as, oh, it's propaganda to get, race war going on. I watched a video some time ago during the Mike Brown, when Mike Brown was killed. People try to say, oh, it was a body, it was a dummy body, it's a false flag. Philando Castile was shot up here along with another guy that they had protests, not in the same year, but now we hear some of you so-called truthers or whatever say, oh yeah, it's fake, it never happened. Here's the thing about, in general, but with regards to how they view Black people, but generally speaking, a lot of it's real. A lot of it happens, but they show us for a reason. Mike Brown did die. Why would they go to the far extent of putting dummies on the ground? It's a fucking Black person to them, right? And to a lot of you, just another nigga, right? What would they care? They that African Americans are the most, as far as percentages, it's a lot of us that are missing, especially children. You talk and you get to going into the black market of body or organ harvesting, and how some of our bodies are coming up with organs missing, but none of the truthers talk anything about our issues. This is why my channel, you know, I'm a truther, or I'm someone that knows that something's going on. I first understand that there's an issue with regards to who I am because of my color. Then I can also see the bigger picture of what basically what they've done to us as a people, how they're trying to do that to everybody. And but I don't, you know, kudos to those that do realize that there is an issue. I don't remember who I was watching, but he was talking about the gun, you know, gun rights and you know what you should do, you know, with having your gun. I forgot the gist of the video, but it was about gun and having a gun and you know, exercising your right and how to deal with the police. Kudos, and I don't remember whose channel it was, but at least he had the sense to say, you know what, if you're Black, don't do this. So at least he acknowledges, yes, which I can respect. Like, yes, you can't do that. They will shoot the fuck out you. So you're acknowledging that there is an issue. And a lot of the truthers don't want to acknowledge that there is an issue. And some will just downplay, yeah, there's a little racism. But it's not like what they're saying. And it's, you know, and it's what it is not true. And what it is there. It's there. They just didn't have a use for it. They didn't, at least weren't ready to like put it in front of our faces because they're trying to push a certain agenda, but it is happening. I'm one that can tell you that I have children, have Black children, and I fear for their lives. Okay, mine, and how I've had to raise them. And you may think because of the propaganda that you see on TV about us that, oh, it's the ghettos. No, I fear police. I feel fear in actions, even from in my own personal experiences. Being, I've never been to jail. I exercise my Second Amendment. I have, you know, white collar jobs. I've lived in semi-suburban areas and have had issues with racial profiling, with, you know, neighbors calling, making bogus phone calls to police. So it is not something that is made up. It is something that is real and that is happening. And there's a few prominent YouTubers that I listen to, and they never, even though they do talk about like everything they talk about, I don't even think some of them realize it though. They talk about things as it relates to, what the hell was that? Oh, they talk about things as it relates to the white experience, just to put it blatantly. And, you know, not seeing that there is a difference in how people move. Let me tell you also about the propaganda. You know, I know a lot of you feel like we are, because of the news and you know, the politicians and things like that, it makes you think that Black people are criminals, welfare, they're lazy, this and that and the other, right? And I'm gonna tell you something, a large amount of Black people feel the same way because they've listened to the same propaganda machine that you do have. And you know, that whole trope of well, look at how you treat yourself. How do you expect people to have respect for you? Look at how you treat yourself. Well, how are you complaining about police and look how you treat yourself? Well, you know, there has been issues with the police predating modern times in the 50s and the 60s. You have grassroots organizations that were founded in the 60s due to police brutality. You had people like Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King talking about police brutality. Okay. There has always been um, that issue with police in our communities. And that was, back then, you know, we weren't sagging our pants and we weren't, doing all these things that they put like a scapegoat us to that you and like I said, a lot of black people fall towards and they uh, fall into that trap. And it's something that you have to recognize if if some of these issues like gun issues, these things that there's domestic and things that are current things that in and other things that you feel like okay they're putting this in front of us for a certain agenda. Why is it that no one admits that obviously that they're putting African Americans in a certain light for a certain agenda? I remember growing up in the city that I was a teenager in, rather. I remember that this particular news agency, local news agency in my town, they would have I don't know if it was weekly, I think it might have been weekly, because I don't think it was nightly, it was a weekly special where they would pick out, you know, um, a kid, in the viewing area of the state, and it's you can submit. They pick a kid from the submitted entries that were, kids that was excelling in school and just doing great in their community, right? And it was always white kids. Now, for me as a black person, I know it made me feel like black people are shit to a degree. But then also had this conflicting feeling because I knew of people that were taking care of their siblings, going to church, doing community hours, doing mentoring, and going to school. You know, so but I never seen these people. Always seen white faces. Not one time did they air a black or a biracial child. It was always Susie Q. So if that was affected me in that way, I know it affected you in a way of thinking and perpetuating that perpetuating the stereotype because it is a stereotype that black people must not be shit. And again, I just wanted to bring this to your attention, especially this is the truth of the community. You know, you're not really. Are you really for the truth, or are you just for the one side of truth? Because if you're saying on one hand, a lot of this stuff that they're doing is propaganda and stuff like that, why what would be why wouldn't you think that they would do a whole people like that? People that they enslaved, you know, and the government backed. And remember, yeah, a lot of you be like, oh, my grandfather and didn't own slaves, or it was a long, long time ago. But if you're a truth and you're about the truth and about research, you will understand that there were actual programs and laws and things that were passed after we were let go to get us. That's to me, when a true prison system industrial complex started its foundations, because as soon as we were free, then we had nowhere to go. So then it created all these laws, vagrant laws. You can't stand around. You couldn't hop the railroad tracks. A lot of us was doing that, and was pushing on to the Freddie and Fannie things that were happening. The housing stuff that was happening in the 50s. And so, I mean, really, if you're really about true and you're talking about American, and when you say American, you're not talking about white. You're talking about people who are born in this country, not illegals, blah, 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 blah. And it's the Constitution. It's, who are you talking about? Are you just talking about yourself? I myself, and I heard other people talk about a lot of the things. You can go through my channel. I don't put videos and stuff up like I don't do the fancy videos, but I do I talk about how they're poisoning us, how they're trying to um, control us. Eventually, they have Big Brother. And I was talking about Neon City like almost 2 years ago. Between here and there is a Facebook group to this page, this YouTube page. So, I talk. I've spoken on a lot of the different things. Even with the gun laws and all these little different things that they're doing. Like for example, these Fantastic Freddy's, I guess, as I'm part of the Fugals. Okay, that's what I'm saying. I stay quiet because I know that you know it's it's if I go and interject some of the things that I agree with, but then try to interject some of the things that from my perspective of what's going on too on our level as being my skin, and and it'll just cause disagreements and things like that. Because again, I think a lot of truthers or people who have followed truthers rather, this, preppers and this first, my rights and, this country's, elitists and, New World Order, all that. I think that you guys still have some prejudices, at very least, prejudices and indifference to Black people. And I think that once you realize, and again, like if you were really a truther, you would go back and you would start. You think a lot of y'all, I notice, and I'm observing you thinking that you guys have been just started to get played by your government. But even the separation, the creation of the white race, and I know it's going to crush a lot of you people, but it was created. The creation of the white race was something that was implemented to divide and conquer, because the elitists, so-called, when they founded this country, the Jesuits and all that others, they had an agenda, okay, that, and it is coming into fruition, in these secret societies and things that have been around. They've been around for hundreds, if not thousands of years, these orders. So that predate the Americas, and that predate this country. So just the creation, when they did that, because at first, when they first initially, it wasn't like that. Then they created that because they needed more slaves. That's one of the reasons they needed more laborers. But it's a divide and conquer tactic, no different than that experiment with the prisoners. Okay, where that they gave certain people were the guards and certain people were the prisoners and this and that. It was an experiment. They made a movie about it. It's the same thing as far as you separate people in an environment, you make them one feel superior than the other. Look what happens. So, and even a lot of your politicians and presidents of past and present have actually put this in your face, and you still don't get it. Make the, how do you say it? Make the poorest white man, listen to this, make the poorest white man feel that he is better than the smartest Black man. And he will not notice us, us, us picking his pockets. Say that slowly to yourself over and over and over again until you really get it. And that was a Republican president, Lyndon B. Johnson. They have been telling you, they have been screwing you guys over for a long time. And also, they've been telling you in your face, that all this race shit is a cover because they needed to divide and conquer, while robbing you blind keeps us at the bottom, make you feel like you better than us. Because to the elites, it's about money and bloodline, not about race that they made up. It's about bloodline and this money, and we're soon to be chipped. It's about power, money, and bloodline, nothing to do with race. So when you get to a point of being real, if you're really real about what's going on, what they're doing, they got machines, robots, and there's going to be a singularity that's going to happen real soon. They're taking our jobs away with automation, DARPA, all these things that they're doing. Everything that they're doing, the chip, the how they're about to destroy the human race or create another type of humanoid. And how they're getting into mixing animals with humans. I think they just looked at that a couple of years ago where they can do experiments with animals and humans. You think they're not doing it anyway? You gotta remember, these people have hundreds of billions of dollars. You think that's who's gonna stop them? So they've been, we talk about vampirism, these blood sacrifices, these Pizzagate, all these different things. These secret societies will be doing sacrificing and all. Look here, we're talking about all of this, and we can agree on a lot of that. I agree with a lot of that. But what I see that a lot of you who see this, that what's going on, what's really going on, y'all, when it comes to us, and a lot of Black people too, because it's like, and I understand, because I grew up in an abusive home where I felt like I was dirt, and I was told I was one shit, and and treated the same. So I can understand on a mass level of everything that you see about you and people who look like you are negative. So of course you're going to take that in, and everything, that little thing that you do is going to be spent negatively, and so of course you're going to have some negative feelings about your own people. When people get break the sheer facts down, ain't nobody no different. White people kill white people at the same rate as Black people killing Black people. Why? Because we tend to group together. More whites are grouped together with whites, more Blacks are grouped together with whites, more Hispanics group together with Hispanics, and so forth and so on. Therefore, each group kills more of their own than anybody else, than any other group kills them. But here we go. Propaganda. News, the same news that you say are spinning shit. They're spinning, that's the same people who owns them are spinning that about us. And regardless. So it's like, are you really a truther? Are you really to what truth? Whose truth? Or to what reality are you talking about? When I know there's a lot of you saying, make America great again, but let's be real. You're talking about white, because it wasn't great for everybody that was here. Weren't no illegals, but no, centralized banking system when it first started, when this country was first founded. No fiat currency that has everybody slaves. They have everybody going back and forth with each other, angry at each other, and fighting over the scraps at the bottom, where the top 10%, especially 1%, are orchestrating all the bullshit, and including that person that y'all think is for y'all. Make the poorest white man feel that he is better than the smartest Black man. He won't notice us picking his pockets, and I swear to you, the person that you are looking up to that is in the White House right now is using that using that particular concept. That was how he got elected because he knows, that, and the fact that was that data collecting a company that I forgot, not they got into some big trouble about data privacy anyway, like, because what they were doing was basically, and that's another thing. They were It's a thing on Netflix about that, but anyway, that was why he won, playing off of the race card. And that company, Analytica company, which basically you need to watch the doc on Netflix, because before they did that here, they went to other countries, and the things, that they got people, they were creating conflict, to where it was some in some of these little countries that they were doing it in, that they started doing ethnic cleansing off of the propaganda and stuff that they was putting out there. This ain't just started. This whole, what you think is, the taking of your country and all this other stuff. Let me tell you something. These people have always been here. Personally, I think the only last real president that this country has had is Kennedy. And I think was trying to wipe out his whole bloodline because of some of his views when it comes to race relations. Probably had a black mistress somewhere in there. A lot of y'all do and still hate us. So I'm going to leave you with this. If you are serious about, hey, these gun laws and, NEOM and 5G and the big V with the needles, the Pow Pows, the Fantastic Freddy's, and the Leeds and Pizzagate and Ep Island, and all of that stuff. And some of you are even going into researching into secret societies and how deeply embedded secret societies are in the ruling of this nation, that have hidden agendas, and that how presidents are being selected, and the hoopla is just to make us feel good, like our parents used to do, make us feel like we're given an option, but they already know what they was going to make their decision on, but they gave us the two options that they wanted us to have anyway, right? If you are real about this, and I hate that the lighting started to go away. If you're real about what's going on and what's about to happen and where we're moving towards as a human race, we have to tackle the issue, the racial divide issue in this country. And I'm not saying like, feel guilty about what your ancestors probably did. No, just correct it. Admit it. Like, oh yeah, that was fucked up. I would be fucked up as far as not even going back to slavery. Go back to the things, Jim Crow, and the housing redlining and things that even the government was doing to set us back financially. How that affected our us as a whole, and like some of our, the time where a lot of the land that we owned, they took back. The Central Park in New York was a black little town, it meant that powers that be, did do some things that to make sure that we weren't on a level playing field, and just give us that just do. If it's not about you feeling superior to someone else, or or that comfortability, or that being comfortable with feeling superior, or that feeling that you get from being treated better than somebody else. If it's not about that, and it's just truly about human race and some diabolical, crazy motherfucking vampire, demon, maybe alien people that are about to take us somewhere that we have never been before, that is fucking up the water, that's fucking up the land, so that they could make sure that we can only depend on them and they can have total control. If you know what's going on and you see it, we have to tackle that issue. So I say again, what's uh, propaganda and what's real, but being used um, for a particular agenda. Have a good night, y'all. I gotta end this because the light's going out.